When you're moving, there are so many things to think about, and that's especially true when you're moving out of the country. But don't worry, you're not alone in this journey. Here are some helpful tips to make your international move smoother and less stressful. By the end of this video, you'll know what to do to prepare for your international move in 5 key areas: paperwork, employment, medical, logistics, and personal belongings. So the first and most obvious thing you're going to need is a valid current passport. Make sure you have a passport and that you know where it is and that it is not close to expiring. You'll also need to find out what specific paperwork, applications, documentation, and visas might be required for the country that you're going to. And because there are so many different variables there, your best bet is to start your research by going to travel.state.gov. You'll also need to find out if you're going to have to pay duty on your belongings that you're bringing into the country. And you'll need to find out if you need to bring them all in one go or if you can bring them in rounds a little bit at a time. Now let's talk about employment. If you're moving to a new country and you're planning to work there, you'll need to find out what the rules are for your specific situation. Just want to make sure that you are not violating any restrictions on your employment in the new country. In a lot of cases, it's better to have your job lined up in the new country before you go. But again, this is going to depend on your particular situation and the type of visas and documentation required. So I can't stress enough to do your research at travel.state.gov just so that there are no surprises when you get to your new job in your new place. The next thing to consider with an international move is your medical situation. I highly recommend that before you make an international move, you get all caught up on your doctor's appointments. Make sure you get your checkup, see your dentist, your eye doctor, any specialist that you might need to see, and give yourself plenty of time to schedule those appointments and request those records so that you can take them with you. Because when you get to the new country, it's going to take you some time to get established and to find practitioners. It might take you time to get enrolled in their health plan if that's an option for you. All of that stuff takes time, and so it's best to just start right off the bat being all caught up on everything, and that way you don't feel like you have to hurry and get in to be seen. If you wear contacts or glasses or retainers, it's a great idea to have a backup pair of all of those things just in case. It's also a really good idea to look into insurance and medical options in the new country before you go. If you're moving for employment reasons, then I would recommend reaching out to your employer to help you navigate that system. And regardless of how you may feel about vaccines, you'll definitely want to check and make sure if there are any required vaccines for you to enter that country. Again, a good place to start is at travel.state.gov. The next thing to consider are the logistics of your move. First, you want to think about the mode of transport for yourself and your belongings. Are you crossing by land? Are you crossing by sea? Are you entering by air? How are you getting to the new country personally? And how is your stuff getting there? Typically, it's going to be easier to cross by land. So I would say that crossing from the US into Canada is typically going to be an easier logistical move. But again, every situation is different and there will be restrictions at the border regardless of which country you're entering. So you just want to make sure that you are prepared for that you have the documents filled out, and that you know what you are and are not allowed to bring with you. And if you are moving halfway around the world and you decide to use a moving company, I can't stress enough to make sure that you really vet that company. You want to make sure that you have talked to people on both ends of the move, in your current country and in the receiving country, who have used that specific service. Make sure that you get really good referrals and recommendations and you read the reviews. You just want to really do your research before you entrust a company with all of your belongings to take them halfway around the world. The fifth category to talk about is your stuff. What do you do with all of your belongings when you're moving internationally? Depending on the cost of moving your goods, how far away you're moving, and how long you're going to stay in that country, you might want to consider either downsizing your items or storing them here in the US before you move abroad. If your international move is a short-term move, then you might consider putting things in storage. Or if it's a longer-term move, you might consider downsizing and selling a lot of your stuff before you go. Typically, when I'm talking about moves across town or within the United States, I will tell people declutter, declutter, declutter. But here's the caveat with that when it comes to international moves. There are some items that are more difficult to obtain in other countries. For example, your electronics. Let's say you're going to let go of your laptop here in the US and you're going to buy one in another country. It might be more expensive in that country. It might be more difficult to get one, and you might not be able to get one with the keyboard that you're used to. So those are all things that you want to think about when it comes to electronics. I would recommend buying your electronics in the US and bringing them with you. When it comes to cell phones, it's usually a safe bet to bring an unlocked cell phone and buy a new SIM card when you get to the new country. And for items that you are taking with you, make sure you find out if you're going to need adapters. Different countries have different shaped electrical outlets, and different countries have different voltage requirements. So all of that comes into play when you're talking about electronics. You want to make sure that you have the right plugs, the right adapters, otherwise your stuff won't work, and it won't matter if you brought it with you if you can't plug it in. If you're planning to bring a car with you, you'll want to do your research. Even if you are making a land crossing into Mexico or Canada, you'll want to make sure that the vehicle that you're bringing with you is allowed in that country and that there aren't any specific modifications that you need to make for it to be legal in that country. So be sure you check into vehicle restrictions in the new country before you try to take a car across any border with you. And if you're planning on bringing everything with you and then putting it in storage in your new country, just be aware that not every country has the availability of storage units like we have in the United States, and some places they're much more expensive than what you might be used to, and they might not be as safe and secure as what you're used to. So again, when in doubt, leave it out, but I say that with some caveats, especially when it comes to electronics and cars. Make sure you do your research before you decide if you're bringing those items with you or if you're going to declutter them on this end of the move. Even some things like bed sheets vary in size from country to country. So a king-size bed in the US might be a completely different shape and size in another country. So if you're not bringing your own bed with you, but you are bringing your sheets, those sheets might not fit on the bed in the new country and vice versa. So you'll want to do some research about what the shapes and sizes of beds are and bed sheets in the new country before you decide whether to bring beds or sheets or both. A lot of these factors are not as important when you're making a land move from the US to Canada because you don't have to consider the voltage requirements and the shape and size of beds and things like that. But again, you are really going to want to make sure that you do your research about what documentation you need. Make sure you're all caught up on all of your medical appointments before you go. It can take some time to get settled in your new country, and you don't want to spend those first few days scrambling to try to figure out how to get in to see a doctor. If you've gotten any value out of this video, please hit that subscribe button so that I can reach more people and help more people. Thank you so much. Every move comes with its own set of challenges, but I make videos to make the whole thing easier for you. If you found this video helpful, be sure to check out this video for more tips and tricks about how to prepare for your move. I'll meet you there.